Welcome YouTube, my name is John Roach from Team Jank, here with my teammate Brad Pironciak, who just topped 16 YCS Providence playing GB. And here he is with his main deck.
We received a lot of requests for the deck, so we decided that we wanted to help out the metagame and hopefully promote some GB use so that throughout the format there might be some more tops at future YCSs with the deck. Without further ado, here is the deck list. 3 Laquari, 3 Darius, 2 Sam Knight, 2 Equest, 1 Retiari, 1 Bestiari, 1 Murmillo, 2 Thunder King Ryo. That's 15 monsters. 3 Proving Ground, 2 MST, Dark Hole, Monster Reborn, 7 spells. 3 Chariot, 3 Horn of the Phantom Beast, 2 Bottomless Trap Hole, 2 Solemn Warning, 2 Dimensional Prison, 2 Starlight Road, 2 Torrential Tribute, Solemn Judgment, Compulsory Evacuation Device. That's 18 traps. On to the extra deck. 2 Gizaris, 2 S.A. Dari, 1 Heraclinos, 2 Chimera Tech, 2 Stardust Dragon, Catastor, Zen Mines, Leviathan Dragon, Tempo, Utopia, Maystroke. Onto the side deck. 3 Cyber Dragon, 3 King Tiger Wangchu, 3 Dimensional Fisher, 3 Forbidden Lance, Book of Moon, Mystical Space Typhoon, Heavy Storm.
Alright guys, so now we're going to go into a little bit about why Brad decided to play this deck. When we were first starting testing to figure out what we were going to play at Rhode Island, a lot of decks came up in potentials to play. We decided on one of the decks was GB. The reason why we like GB in this format is because a lot of decks are playing heavy trap. So what we want to do, instead of playing heavy trap like everyone else, is we want to play heavier trap. Hence why we played 18 traps on the main deck. While deciding to play heavy trap, one card that we found that was really beneficial to the GB engine was Horn of the Phantom Beast. Horn of the Phantom Beast works really well with things like Laquari, Darius, and Sam Knight. What it did was it gave us a great surprise factor game 1 that people just weren't ready for. After that, me and Brad put together a basic deck list and I sent it to him. He built it and decided to start testing it, and this is what he found during his testing.
Well, during testing and as it reflected in the tournament, the Horn worked exactly as we intended it. People were not ready for it. They assumed that the Gladiator Beast build was playing as the traditional builds of old did. So when the Horn dropped, it did one of 2 things. Either it helped sustain the control that I already had over the game state, or the Horn helped reclaim control in a situation where I might have been down. Most players were not ready for it, and when it dropped game 1, it really added a surprise factor that was very valuable to the overall success of the deck. When it comes down to it though, the Horn is not the most important part, not even by a long shot. War Chariot makes this Gladiator Beast deck. Decks in this format are very fast. They have a lot of combo potential, and they put a lot of monsters out very quickly. We needed a way to counteract that. When it comes down to it, the War Chariot is the card that I want in the overwhelming majority of matchups. And in most of those matchups, it is the card with disruption potential that can't be denied. The Chariot is something that when it drops, disrupts the entire combo of a lot of decks in this game. And the fact that it can be cycled with the Equest is something that one simply is not able to do with a card like Effect Veiler. Overall, this deck plays more like a stun build than it does a traditional Gladiator Beast build. Of course, you've got your heavy traps, you've got your sustainable monsters. But this deck does something that the old stun decks don't. It has potential for the big play. So we can use the Bestiari to go into the Gizaris play. We can go into the Heraclinos play. But those are not the primary intentions of the deck. The primary intentions of the deck are big monsters, large backfields, sustainability. to the point that we're going to be able to combat most of the decks in this format very effectively just on the basis of their monsters and traps. The side deck choices are relatively simple, but I will explain them now. The Cyber Dragons are standard. They need to be in the deck for the Girgia, the Karakuri, the Machina matchup, and they are pretty good for some extra beat power against the heroes. The King Tigers are in the deck, of course, for the wind-up matchup, for Samurais, also for Girgias, and for the Rabbit matchup. We've got Dimensional Fisher, which is in the deck for the Dark Worlds, the Monarch matchup, Atlanteans, Insectors, decks of that nature. We've got the Forbidden Lances. The standard matchups it would go in are against Hero and GK, but it also could go in the deck for times where we're playing against Royal Decree, or where I expect an opponent is playing Royal Decree. The same is true with the book, the Extra Typhoon, and the Storm. The Storm, of course, can go in against other decks playing Heavy Trap, especially if you decide to side out some of your traps for Lances in games 2 or 3. But with that, that's the wrap-up. The side deck was pretty well equipped and balanced to beat the majority of the decks in the format that I might have had one or more problems against. The last thing I want to mention is what I would do differently if I were to play this deck again. The main thing that I would change is I would move Book of Moon from the side deck to the main deck and replace Compulsory Evacuation Device. Although CED was good, Book just proved to be better when I sided it in, and upon further review, I would have included the Book in the main deck in future tournaments. Beyond that, the only real changes I would make are in the extra deck. The extra deck was a bit rushed, so there were 2 choices that were neglected in its construction. The first is Leviair. It can be very useful to get the Bestiari back if in fact it gets bottomless. This is not something I would have done at any point in the tournament, but I know that it is something that could come up during a match, and I would recommend it be played. The second is Shockmaster. This is another one that was simply forgotten. There was one moment during the tournament where I could have used the Shockmaster. Could have lost me the game, thankfully it didn't, and if you were to pilot the deck in the future, I highly recommend a Shockmaster be in the extra deck. Beyond that, this has been Brad Pironciak.
I'm John Roach.
This is Team Jank. Thank you for watching.